Oh, Keith, he couldn't resist. There
I
he
was just
is.
sitting in the audience laughing, like at this
Oh
whole
my goodness.
conversation. I thought it was so good. I'm going to throw myself back into the audience
No, no, no,
because
Keith. I wanted to pull you up actually. So,
I just wanted to say thank you to the amazing team at Ledger, right? Like, because this is such an important conversation. You have an incredible product. This is of the utmost importance to our community. And so, more than anything else, really thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. But no, Bharat, I actually want to go into the audience because, like, you are the tech pro here, you and TJ, and like, I just want to let you run this one, and maybe I'll have a question or two at the end. But for the people in the audience, with the exception of Patricio Walthaler, who's the head of POOP, you're all welcome to come on up onto stage. Patricio, I'm just joking. We love you so much. We'll do a tech
oh,
talk.
we
We'll do
love
a
you,
tech talk.
Patricia.
And Patricio, if you have questions, come on up too. But I'm going to throw myself back into the audience, Rod. I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Keith. It's a
Thank you so much.
pleasure. We're very excited.
So Keith's as you know, our fearless leader and inspiration behind timepieces. So without him, there would be no timepieces. Thank you, Keith. So anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks for all of you joining in the audience. Really appreciate it. This is a very important conversation. My name is bkrish, CTO at Time. I'm also one of the founders at Timepieces, and we take security very seriously. And I also have here TJ, who's our Web3 infrastructure engineer, newly joined Time, but he's previously responsible for making sure that our Discord community is set up well and safe and secure. So he's here to join us in this conversation as well. So just to reiterate, our topic today is security in the Web3 space. I would love for us to explore, fundamentals of security and how to make ourselves as a community secure and enjoy the space without worrying about scams and fraud. And then also let's explore what is a career in Web3 security. I would love for our guests to chime in on that. And then let's also explore how do you build a business in Web3 security. So a lot of conversation ahead of us, but before I go any further, just want to welcome our amazing friends from Ledger, Mo, Ariel, and Kyle. I would love for you all to introduce yourself. Mo, if you want to start us off.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for hosting this talk, Bharat. We are super pleased to be here. My name is Mo, and I lead community and education at Ledger. So my job is to basically work on a variety of different projects to make sure that you guys out there have the tools and knowledge necessary to safely navigate the space. So we've got an education platform called the Ledger Academy. We work on a variety of different content shows, as well as different initiatives with crypto artists and NFT projects.
And I am Ariel. I'm our editor-in-chief at Ledger. Similar huge thank you for having us. We actually had a Ledger Open Developer Conference a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about, building communities in Web3, and Timepieces has done such a fantastic job of really caring and nourishing that. So it's really fun to talk today. It's my job to make sure, and working with Mo, that communities understand what Ledger is as a platform, that developers know how to build on it, and that we're creating an ecosystem where security is essential, because we're still at this stage of mainstream curiosity with crypto and Web3. And as we grow, we need security to be in every element of what we do, because security can be cool. And we need people to kind of remember that as they come in to mitigate human error in this new ecosystem. So it's really fun, and we love doing things like this.
Hey, I'm
Awesome.
Kyle. I make security cool. No, speaking of career in Web3, I definitely did not expect myself to be here, but I think my path here kind of came the way a lot of people's did, where I had a traditional job. I was an engineer working on flying cars, basically like electric air taxis. And, as you'd expect, I was getting kind of bored at that job and got peak curiosity about crypto, basically dove in my spare time earlier this year, just like learned as much as I could, kind of found myself in this position where I was on a bunch of discords helping a bunch of people in like, well, I think we'll get to this in our talk, but if you learn enough about crypto, Ledger's product becomes obvious. Like it's just, you go, oh, we need something that can protect your seed phrase. Oh, then you just find us. And I did the same thing. So like I learned a lot about crypto. I got involved. I helped people with their ledgers and their setup, and I basically got headhunted out of Discord. And now I am the head of customer success for the US. I currently don't have a team, but I am the head of it. But I am hiring like crazy to hire for customer success people in the US. So maybe I'll plug that at the end, but that's just sort of where I'm coming from.
No, that's amazing. Would love to speak with you in a little bit about how can people look at security careers and where should they look and what and how. So uh, awesome, Kyle. Thank you. Just to give you a little bit of background, uh, so uh, we were building our timepieces community on Discord, and we did get hit by a lot of spam on open channels, and we were suppressing the spam and deleting them, and in true sort of give first fashion, Mo reached out to me out of the blue and said, "Hey, would love to see how uh, he and Ledger can help with educating our community and on security and protecting themselves." And I thought it was an incredible idea, especially because our Discord community, over half of them are first time Discord users, and also our 50% of our artists are first time NFT artists. So it is an important subject for us. So that's why this is our first topic in our Tech Talk series. So I think we should jump right in. Mo, I know one of the things you mentioned was let's start with the fundamentals. And I want to throw this to you, see if you can start us off with some fundamentals where we can start here and then continue the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, the whole idea is we need to understand, of course, first what Ledger is. And if I can give you like a quick introduction about Ledger is,
Oh, yes,
we're
please.
we're
Tell us.
world
I
leading
mean,
expert.
by the way, I know Ledger as a hardware wallet, and
Yeah.
now I feel like you're becoming a media company. So tell us a bit more. Yeah.
So, aside from all of the things that we're doing on the content side, actually Ledger is an ecosystem. So, our core thing is security, and our ecosystem includes hardware and software solutions that enable people to own, secure, and manage crypto assets, as well as access a variety of different apps and services. So initially, we started in 2014 with a focus on hardware, to your point, and to enable people to secure their private keys. Then later on, we added Ledger Live, which is an interface that helps you manage your assets and includes different services. So it's kind of like, if I can give you an analogy, it would be like I don't know, the iTunes to the iPod. It's actually software that comes with the hardware and enables the user to manage everything that goes on there with the hardware itself. So you have services such as buy, sell, exchange one crypto for another, lend or stake. And this year, as Ariel mentioned, we actually announced during our Ledger Open that Ledger will become a platform, meaning that any project or creator could come build on top of Ledger and enable their community to access services from within the security of the Ledger device, which is kind of deeply anchored in the values and ethos of Web3. We don't want our platform to be solely gate kept by Ledger and solely for Ledger services, but to make it open for all the creators and builders out there to enable their communities to actually access these services in the most secure way possible. In addition, we've also added new products to our ecosystem, such as the CL card, but we'll be diving into all of that in a few minutes. So maybe to talk about the fundamentals, the question that we could ask ourselves is, why do we even need Ledger? So I'll take a few steps back here and maybe talk to you about the web. So, as we all know, the first version of the internet was called Web 1. It enabled people all over the globe to access an unlimited amount of information. It went this way: you'd log onto a website, read a topic-related content, and depending on the website you were visiting, you were reading different stuff. Then came Web 2, which kind of enabled people to read, write, and share information. Suddenly you had millions of blog writers and, of course, social media users creating and sharing an unlimited amount of content. So Web 1 and 2 enabled the decentralization of information. However, there was one big problem. We could not do that with value because of what we call the double spend problem. So think of it this way, Bharat. If I were to send you an image or a file via email or WhatsApp, what I'm actually sending you is a copy of that image. The original stays on my device. So if I was sending you dollars via email, there was no way to verify the books and make sure that I was not double spending that money by sending it to Kyle and Ariel at the same time. And this problem took many, many years to to solve. And in the meantime, we had to trust third parties such as banks and fintech companies to do the bookkeeping for us. So imagine I send you the same dollar via Revolut. Revolut actually guarantees that I own that dollar, operates the transaction, deducts $1 from my account and adds it to yours, then updates the ledger. And in return for the service that we entrusted these centralized entities with, we had to give up the custody of our assets. And if you think of it, it's absolutely crazy. Most of the money that we all own here is not held technically by us, apart from the cash that we keep in our wallets or that we keep at home. Most of the money that we own is custodied by banks and fintech companies, as I mentioned. So in return for the service, we had to give up, pay exorbitant fees and put ourselves at the mercy of these entities that are, of course, prone to mismanagement, gatekeeping, and so on. So, this was up until the point Satoshi Nakamoto invented Bitcoin and blockchain technology in the process. And blockchain actually solves this. So if you think of blockchains, they are decentralized ledgers in which we do not have to trust a single entity to hold our assets and ensure the bookkeeping, but rather a network of thousands of individual computers that safeguard the value that is held on the blockchain, meaning the coins, tokens, or NFTs, and verifies the legitimacy of the transaction and then operates them. So users can manage their holdings thanks to a concept called public and private key cryptography. Bear with me, we're almost there. So if you think of public keys are kind of like your email address. Anyone can actually send you value to that address on the blockchain, whereas private keys are more like your email password. They enable you to unlock that value, and your asset's safety actually depends on the safety of the private keys. So protecting your private keys is essential. It's the only way for you to be able to access the value that is held on the blockchain in a way that is decentralized and in a way that is not, putting trust in a third entity to operate and manage this value for you. So the value always remains on the blockchain, the keys don't, and they're the single most important thing you have to secure. As we say in the industry, not your keys, not your coins. So there are a few different ways through which you can hold your keys. You have paper wallets, software wallets, and hardware wallets like Ledger. And of course, hardware wallets are the safest solution for a variety of different reasons. But I'll let Kyle dive into that. So back to our initial question, why do we need Ledger? Which is kind of the most important kind of fundamentals that we need to understand before we kick off this conversation. We need Ledger because we are now in Web3. Where we are not obliged to trust third parties anymore because value on the internet is decentralized. And thus we need appropriate Web3 hardware to protect Web3 value. So in short, Ledger enables you to kind of be your own bank. And it enables you to be your own bank by enabling you to hold and secure these private keys in appropriate Web3 hardware device.
Awesome, Mo. I recently heard of an analogy. I think it's from Ian, which was um, your public key is like your mailbox address, right? So
Yep.
you send the mail to, and then once it reaches your mailbox, your private key is your key to open the mailbox, right? So that was an interesting analogy.
Exactly.
So I had an interesting question in all of this because on it's kind of sort of ironic too, where we say blockchain is one of the most secure mechanisms for storing your data, and cryptographically it's hard to break and all of that, waiting for quantum computers to actually challenge it. And then in the same sentence we say uh, it's a spammer and scammers paradise, right? So how do we reconcile that? I mean, is blockchain secure or not? So uh,
It is the
anybody
ultimate
wants to
dark
pick on?
forest. So like the Ethereum network and actually blockchain is just like, it's the most antagonistic computing environment I've ever seen in my lifetime. Every single transaction you send is going through malicious parties, like guaranteed. It's public broadcasted information. And actually, like, it should feel scary, but in a way it actually makes me feel more secure because the system is designed in such a way that you can send your messages through antagonistic environments. You can plug your ledger into a computer that's infected by as many viruses as you could put on it. And the design of the system is such that you can still trust that your transactions are going through. They're not being intercepted. They're not being modified. Like, cryptography is very cool. And if you implement things right, it doesn't matter how antagonistic the environment is, it will still work. And so like maybe it's like the
Maybe.
fragility of the system, or the anti-fragility of the system is what makes it feel so cool.
So, I mean, in there, I guess there are plenty of opportunities for making it more secure. Hence, Ledger as a
Yeah.
product as well makes sense.
Yeah. So
Um,
here's my sort of mental model of the system is you have this blockchain, which in your mind, just think of it as a database. Like, it's a big central database with everybody's information in it. And it's decentralized. It's on a bunch of computers, but in your mind, you can actually just think about it as like, I'm going to add an entry to that big database that everybody in the world agrees is the truth. And in order to emit a message that gets added to the blockchain, you have an account and you say, I'm going to say, like, I want to change the blockchain's state by emitting this message. And the blockchain doesn't trust your message unless you have signed that message cryptographically. And so the whole premise of cryptography is built around the idea that you know a number, a very long number that nobody else in the world knows. Only the person who knows that number can sign transactions, and you're the only one who knows that number. And like, if you sort of follow that thread long enough, you'll realize, like, oh no, how do I protect that number? And sort of Ledger's product becomes necessary.
Awesome. So, want to ask some more fundamental security questions and measures. So, a lot of us here own NFTs. We're buying more NFTs. We're exploring more. What are some of the best practice you all would share for keeping our NFTs safe?
I'll take a crack at that. So like,
Sure.
I don't want to sound like a shill here. I'm actually new to Ledger, the company. I'm not new to Ledger, the product. Like, I joined this
Mm,
company because I believe in the product. I would not trust holding anything of high value in an account that was backed by anybody else, like any other product. So like I was saying, your Ethereum account that holds all of your assets and value, including your NFTs, that value is only yours because you're the only one who knows how to change the blockchain state on behalf of that account. Which, if you think about, like, I want to send an NFT. In order to send an NFT, I need to know the secret number associated with the account that owns the NFT. And I own that by virtue of being the only one who knows that number. So I would imagine intuitively the safest way to keep a number secret is to like write it down on paper. You can even generate your number with coin flips, just 1010 until you get a long number. The problem is that none of us, we're all humans, none of us can run cryptographic math in our heads or even on paper. It's just too complicated. So you have to defer to a computer to say, like, all right, computer, can you please cryptographically sign this message for me? But then on the other hand, computers are very messy places. Like it can run arbitrary code, it can watch your clipboard, it can see your screen. Like just imagine that everything you do on a computer is being snooped on by a third party. So then what? Like you need a computer to do cryptographic math for you, but you can't trust computers to hold anything that's like secret and needs to stay secret. And so you're like, I wish there was a better way. And what ends up happening out of this is if you design this for years, what you end up with is a small computing device that is cryptographically secure, which is what a Ledger hardware wallet is. It's a secure element chip surrounded by some power electronics that its only job is to keep your secret number secret while still letting you run the math you needed to sign transactions. So a long way to answer your question of like, what is best practices to keep NFTs safe? You need to protect the secret number that backs the account holding your NFTs. And in my opinion, the best way to protect that number is with a Ledger hardware wallet.
Mm-hmm.
And the
So
other thing
you're
I'll
saying,
say, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Ariel. Go, please finish your thought.
No, all I was going to say is, and on top of that point, because it feels cumbersome to go through this dark forest, as Kyle said, and to the point you made earlier of, I feel like Ledger's becoming a media company, it's very clear to us that we have to provide informative and easy to access educational materials that don't feel like education, they feel like edutainment, as access and entry points, so that when you get to the point of using a ledger, you don't feel like it's such an overwhelming thing and you don't feel like you can't trust yourself to utilize those tools to mitigate human error. Because Kyle, we did a talk last night and he made a point that was very simple but completely blew kind of the like crowd away, which was like anytime you copy something onto your clipboard, you should assume that someone could see it. And most of us interact with passwords or logins in that way, right? So like even off the bat, we make decisions every day that could be putting ourselves at risk.
Absolutely. So Ariel, I'm just following that thread. You came from a deep media background in storytelling, investigative storytelling at Vice Media, and I also saw your latest, which is Sitara on Netflix. Amazing. I think everybody should go check it out on
Thank
Netflix.
you.
And you've now moved to a crypto company, a security company. How do you translate that storytelling to that community? And I mean, a lot of this stuff is pretty complex and goes over my head. And I've been in this tech space for a long time. And boiling that down into amazing stories, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why it's good people like us are in the space. I mean, first of all, you're more of an expert than I think you might say, but as someone that has always cared deeply about how is someone in the room going to actually experience this? Like media to me is a vehicle that allows people to be as close to being on the ground themselves for a story that they might not have heard before or a story that they need to understand in a different way. So when you think about the way that media has spoken to individuals over time, you have TV, which led to digital media, which led to segmentation, which led to the creator economy, which led to stagnation because of the duopoly and the algorithm with Facebook and Google, which meant that individuals started to try to find new means, which started to lead to DAOs and Web3, and also individuals and creators feeling like they deserve to be heard for their work and for their IP. And so when I started to discuss with Ian coming to Ledger, it was really because if Ledger is going to be the platform for Web3, then creators, storytellers, and any human should feel like they can participate and that they're not excluded from something that is still being evolved. We all have a choice. And I think what's really interesting and what I see even with time is some of the best brands that have evolved in this space are legacy brands that know that you have to evolve with your community in order to survive. And newer brands are so opined at growth's sake that they don't think about that. And Ledger wants to be a legacy brand. And so we see media and storytelling as an entry point to allow people to feel like they can be participated in. The stories are, some of them are user stories, right? Like it's people that, are growing up and don't feel like they need to have a bank or traditional bank for the first time, or they live in the metaverse world, and they want to experience and express that. And some of it is like really like thinking about like how do we change educational structures, not only in the US or in English native speaking, but crypto and Web3 are growing internationally at the same capacity. And we ship to over 200 countries. So how do we make sure we're cultivating an international audience at the same time? So it's really accessibility is the long and short of it.
Amazing. Looking forward to amazing stories coming out of this. I did go through a lot of your learning section in Ledger, and I would encourage anybody in the audience, please go check it out. There's some really cool short films there, and makes it entertaining to not think of security as a boring subject, but more of a fun subject, and be able to
And
learn
that's
at the same time.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. But that's why Mo and Kyle are amazing, because Mo leads, our educational content, and the academy comes from him, and Kyle is like the deepest person in it. And if you go on our site, you'll actually see videos of Kyle explaining things in a very clear way. So we also are blessed with a lot of Ledger talent.
Amazing. So I do want to ask one thing, because all of us are in Discord. I know, Mo, you see a lot of Discord communities in the past few months. You've all seen, and TJ has a lot of tips as well. I want to open this up to like, how can we make ourselves more secure? How can our community feel more secure within Discord? Any tips you all want to share?
Well, I can take a crack at this one.
Sure.
I think like the whole idea of Discord, and it's been amazing because Discord enabled, the creation of so many different projects. I know Kyle and I are members of Friends with Benefits, and how it all evolved there, and all of these different projects that popped on up on Discord. But the thing is, this is also a gold mine for scammers and all the people that have malicious intentions, because they know that most of the people that are in these communities are interested in the technology, are there to collect NFTs, most probably own, certain crypto assets, and are used to sign certain transactions, whether it be with Collabland through MetaMask, because MetaMask kind of the gateway that everyone used to discover kind of the word of Web3, which is great because MetaMask is a great product. But if you're only using a software without using a hardware wallet, it becomes a major attack vector. So back to the Discord point, I think the most important thing is to always have a healthy dose of skepticism, to make sure that you know what you're signing. And it's not easy, and we'll probably get into blind signing in a minute. But the whole idea is that when you're signing something with your MetaMask, you don't necessarily know what you're signing, because the smart contracts are very complex, and the interface and how the technology of MetaMask is at the moment does not enable you to read exactly what is happening or what this contract is actually saying. So you end up sometimes with links of people posting stuff to promote certain airdrops that are exclusive to, say, timepieces holders or ape holders, and then you have all of the community logging into that website and basically signing a transaction thinking that they are minting an airdrop, but what they're basically signing is an approval to move certain tokens or certain assets. So always be very skeptical of all of these airdrops and these links. Also assume that most of the moderators and the administrators of the server won't be DMing you. Actually, this is quite sad to say, but most of us actually have their DM turned off because we get scammed or spammed all the time. So I think like in general there are few more things to say here, but I'll leave you guys to add to the list. But I think like the main thing is to always have a healthy dose of skepticism and to think twice before signing a transaction on a website, or before even clicking on a link that you are not very confident of who's sending you actually that link on where it's taking you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see if we can leave you with like things to write down, hard and fast rules. First off, write this down somewhere. Anybody asking you for your seed phrase is a criminal, period. Like Ledger doesn't want it. Nobody no legitimate person would ever want your seed phrase. So if there's a website asking for it, if there's a person asking for it, they are literally a criminal and they're trying to steal from you. There's no other reason to ask for that from you. So like write that down. Can you like actually take your monitor and just like etch it into the corner with a razor blade? Like nobody ever wants your seed phrase. Do not put it anywhere. I'm sick of people getting their seed phrases stolen. I
Kyle,
think it's absurd.
It is crazy that people will actually give a seed phrase that's 24 words to somebody.
And that's I actually click on every DM scam. I'm a weird person. And I like to see the websites. I like to see how good of fakes they are. And 100% of the time, from what I've seen, all it is a website that asks you for your seed phrase. And I just shake my head. It's so lazy. Like that's all. They're just like, here's a place to paste your seed phrase in. So like, I just want to make sure this is a big audience. I want to evangelize this concept as much as possible. Like anybody asking for your seed phrase is a criminal, just period.
Yeah.
And maybe it will be helpful, Kyle, to kind of explain the link between the seed phrase and the private keys, because I think we've skipped that phase.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't quite understand what's the link like between both.
Yeah. So like I was saying, the whole premise of cryptography is you have a number that nobody else has. One of the problems in the system is like numbers are hard to write down correctly. It's like easy to make an error. So somebody at some point designed a way to translate this long number of yours into a series of English words to make it easier to write down. Because they're like, okay, we have a long number. Everyone in the world is going to be writing one down eventually. And by the way, as a small tangent, if you generate your seed phrase in a way that's secure and offline, that is your seed phrase for life. Like you don't need to generate a bunch of them over your lifetime. You need to generate one and keep it safe for your lifetime is kind of a way to think about it. So there's a beauty to that. Like this is yours. So yeah, like the fact that it is a series of English words can often trick people or make them think that it's sort of like a password. It feels like a password, but it's not a password. That is your secret number that is used to cryptographically sign things. And if anyone has that number, they are you as far as the blockchain is concerned. Like they have access to all of your assets. And even more, like in the bigger picture, one seed phrase can actually generate multiple accounts on multiple blockchains even. So like, you know how in MetaMask, if you're a MetaMask user, you can click the little like add account button at the top. What that's doing is it's just taking that seed phrase and generating the next account. And you can generate infinite numbers of accounts from a seed phrase. So if you lose your recovery phrase, you lose all of your assets in all of your accounts simultaneously, which is extra devastating. So like, maybe I'll say one more time, like, do not give your seed phrase to anyone. It is extremely catastrophic if you lose control of it.
I mean, Kyle, also a seed phrase
Yeah.
could be taken from you, right? So
I wanted to cover that, but Ariel, sorry, let me I'll cover that in a second because I was going to address the question in the chat, but I want Ariel to add to that point real quick.
No, I'm literally just saying I'm throwing in the chat a video series that Ian did that talks about sort of like why these things are so imperative, that I think are a little bit helpful and playful that people can look at afterwards too.
Yeah, so this is something that I think a lot of people do not think about, which is there's a couple questions in the chat about like cyber hygiene practices. I think a lot of people, especially like if they've been around Discord for a little bit, they're like, okay, I know I'm not going to give my seed phrase to anyone. That's obvious. The thing they're not thinking about is ways people can obtain your seed phrase without you just explicitly pasting it into a scam website. I was saying that computers are messy places, and in my opinion, not a good place to store your seed phrase. And what MetaMask does, by the way, MetaMask is doing the best they can with the system they have in front of them. They're taking that seed phrase that backs up all of your accounts, and they're stashing it into Chrome's storage on your computer. And they're encrypting your seed phrase with your MetaMask password in Chrome local storage on your hard drive. If a malicious party were to be able to get some arbitrary code to run on your system and export Chrome local storage, they're at their leisure able to keep guessing your MetaMask password until they unlock that encrypted volume, and then they extract your seed phrase out of it. So I think I'm going to have to say it, fuck render hack was that. Like somebody gave him a corrupted file. That file ran arbitrary code on his computer. This is likely what happened, is it exported his MetaMask's seed phrase encrypted storage, and then they brute forced it offline and got his stuff. So like, yeah, that we'll come back to that in a second. Then there's another thing that I wanted to make clear is like clipboard sniffing is actually there are non-malicious applications that watch your clipboard. There's a lot of Chrome extensions like Evernote, for example, that like will watch your clipboard and just see anything that comes by that it might need. And so you can generally assume that anything you copy to your clipboard, there are probably at least like 2 or 3 applications on your computer that are watching for that event and triggering an action based on it. And there are Chrome extensions that I've seen the situation where like Ethereum gas tracker application, which is nice, you can track the price of Ethereum transactions, is actually just a scam application that is watching your clipboard and showing you the current price of Ethereum gas. And so like that moment when you said, oh, I'm going to set up my Firefox browser, let me copy and paste my seed phrase from MetaMask over to Firefox, like at that moment, your seed phrase left your computer and went to somebody else's. So like it's effectively the same as pasting your seed phrase into a scam website, but it happened without you knowing it. And so like it's a scary place.
Given that, I mean, people may not know it's stolen, right? So would you say that people should just create new wallets all the time and transfer stuff over?
Well, yeah. So like you could try to overcome the problem by just continuing to make new seed phrases and running away from the bad guys.
Right.
Or you can generate one good seed phrase in a way that you can be sure that if you generated a seed phrase using a Ledger device, that seed phrase only existed on the little tiny screen on the device right in front of you, and it's never been on a computer, it's never been on the internet. And if you generate it once using a Ledger and write it down on paper and never put it on your computer, you can be sure that that seed phrase is not leaked to the world. And then you can feel comfortable using that for the rest of your life.
Awesome. So going back to Discord and sort of security hygiene practices, TJ, I want you to chime in here because, by the way, TJ comes with a lot of experience building Cool Cats Discord and Timepieces Discord. So in Web3 world, he's a veteran. So TJ, any best practices that you want to share?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people run into when they're building out these community Discord servers is that they'll spin up a lot of channels, right? And each of those channels, they may be configuring them per channel basis. And I found that that's something that can come back to bite you. A lot of the times when these Discords are being compromised, what it ends up being is a moderator who's either their 2FA is compromised in some sort of fashion, or they ultimately their Discord is in the wrong person's hands. And I think the biggest thing that's helped other servers is making sure that mods don't have any permissions that allow them to appear as though they're the party that's leading the Discord server, whether that be a bot that's an official bot that people trust in your Discord server, or a moderator who maybe sometimes does make announcements like them spamming out everyone links, things like that. So I think one thing that you can avoid if you're building a Discord server is not doing per channel permissions and really making sure that your root permissions of all of your moderators and your admins are locked down. And there's tiers that are very actionable tiers that you can kind of get rid of in the event that you're being hacked, quote unquote, or your Discord is compromised or a mod is compromised. So working with those root permissions and really like with channel permissions, you kind of leave them be, right? Like if your root permissions are set correctly, then your channel permissions really don't need to be touched that often. I know that's helped us in the past, Barat, and it's something that I think server admins can like actionably go through and audit every once in a while. It's go through and check those root permissions and make sure that none of your mods have webhook permissions, or none of your admins have webhook permissions, because realistically those are kind of one-time setup events, and those keys should never be floating around on, like Kyle said, floating around on clipboards or anything like that. It's almost just as important if you're leading a community to make sure that none of that kind of leaks out.
Awesome. I mean, all the safety measures and hygiene measures that TJ put in place has sort of helped us a lot in thwarting a lot of the spams and scams at on timepieces. Of course, it's a continued effort, and thanks for that, TJ. So, Ricky, thank you for the questions on the Q&A channel. I do want to encourage anybody who wants to come on the stage and ask any questions. Feel free. Please raise your hand. I'll pull you up, or TJ will, and ask any of the questions you have on the Q&A channel as well. Meanwhile, I want to switch gears slightly, which is actually stay with one item, which is, I know, Mo, we talked about blind signing quite a bit. I want you to explain to the audience here in a fashion that people can easily get it and be aware of it. I feel like blind signing is one of the worst issues. And
It is.
please, yeah.
Yeah, it actually is, because most people, like, I want to happily assume that most people know now that they don't need to be sharing their 24-word seed phrase if we're doing our job correctly. And now that scammers are getting a bit more creative, they are trying to leverage on other attack vectors. So one of the main attack vectors is blind signing, and to my earlier point, blind signing is basically occurs when a user is interacting with a smart contract. So if I can provide you with an analogy, it would be like signing an insurance contract that is written in numbers, and you do not actually know what you're signing. You basically, and that's what we do, all of us actually, even myself and all the people at Ledger who collect NFTs and who interact with DeFi, dApps, and so on and so forth, because the actual context of the technology is that we actually haven't found a solution yet. I mean, we have in Ledger, but not with NFTs yet. So actually, what we're doing at the moment with Ledger is enabling you to use the Ledger interface, Ledger Live, to access dApps and marketplaces, and then clear sign. So clear signing is, instead of you signing a smart contract transaction and having to read numbers, we actually implemented certain plugins that enable these numbers to be translated into English language that you and I can understand. So instead of you having to read the numbers on the screen of your computer, which we can assume can be compromised as well, you will read English language on the trusted display of your hardware device. And an example of this would be, for instance, an NFT transaction where I would be sending you timepieces barrels, for instance. And if I am doing this without, using the Ledger ecosystem, I would be signing the transaction via MetaMask. If I'm using my Ledger hardware wallet, I'd get an icon that says data present, but I wouldn't exactly understand what kind of data, smart contract data, is present there. And I would validate, and this would be called blind signing. Which is very dangerous because, as to my earlier point, a lot of scammers are actually leveraging on that vector to make people blind sign certain transaction that would give the scammers the ability to move certain assets. So what we've done at Ledger is that instead of having these numbers or that blind signing logo or icon, you actually now are able to read exactly what the contract is going to do to your assets, and either validate or reject that by reading it on the trusted display, and then either validating or rejecting that using the two buttons that are available on the Ledger device. So it's a way for you to be able to understand exactly what actions you're taking within the realms of Web3. And the more we use, complex smart contracts, the more this need for clear signing will be more and more essential. Because it's kind of logic. You need to read what you sign, and if you're not reading what you're signing, then you might have bad surprises.
So you're saying, Mo, basically trusting a site that through a product like Ledger Live, you're able to make sure that that's a place I can interact with and then transact, but Ledger or hardware wallet sort of is the middleman to make sure that you can
Exactly.
trust
So
it.
you don't
Okay.
use a middleware like MetaMask or Wallet Connect. Instead, as we've mentioned at the beginning, Ledger Live is now a platform, so all the projects and the creators can actually build on top of Ledger. So we've announced that Ledger Open, that Rarible will be available in Ledger Live. So all of you out there will be able to transact, so send and receive your NFTs via Rarible from within the security of the Ledger device, and all while clear signing the transaction. Kyle, do you have anything to add to that? I'm sure. Yeah.
Let me just quickly summarize this concept. So imagine a future where everybody in the world has a Ledger hardware wallet and their 24 words are never shared and they're super secure. They're my seed phrase is protected by a secure element chip and I'm never going to share it to you. What is an attacker to do? What is a scammer going to do to try to get your money? Well, the thing they need to do is they need to trick you into signing something that they want you to sign instead of something that's in your own best interests. That's the only attack vector that remains if everybody's using a Ledger hardware wallet. So that's what blind signing is tricking you into signing something that says a different thing that you don't actually intend to sign. So that's the concept here. And Ledger's doing a lot of development to make sure that the thing that you're signing is visible on the screen, the little tiny screen on the Ledger device. And it's what you're seeing is what you're actually signing. And that's the concept of clear signing.
But it's also important to get into this habit generally with Web3 because right now it's around, digital assets, which are allowing more people to feel comfortable and excited to get into the space. But, we could see a future in a few years where this is how you authorize, payments for other services and utilities or even health records and what you share. If Web3 does its job right, you get more ownership over your data choices, but that means you have to understand how to protect these choices.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing those details. Obviously, this is a concept that needs more introspection. So if there are links we can post on the talk Q&A, and we'll also share more things about blind signing and what does it mean and how you can protect yourself there. That'd be great.
I want to try to get a couple of questions before they get too stale.
Sure.
So if I were a scammer, what I would have you blind sign, what would I have you blind sign? I would have you blind sign a transaction that gives me access to spend your wrapped ether, for example. Any ERC20 token has this function called withdraw or whatever. It allows a remote contract to pull wrapped ether from your account. Any ERC20 can be pulled this way. So what I would do as a scammer is I would trick you into signing a infinite unlock on wrapped ether and steal it all from you. Similarly with NFTs, I think somebody pasted the code of multi-send or NFTs to transfer one, you have to unlock it for a recipient and then send it to that recipient. And what I would do as a scammer is I would trick you into signing the unlock for your NFT and then pull it from you. So it's a messy software world out there, and blind signing is the way to walk into the trap.
Yep. Okay, thank you for posting that. Cap Center, thanks for coming on board here on the stage. Let us know what question you have.
First, I want to say thank you so much for this conversation. I think it's very important. But I had a question about something you said previously about copying and pasting. And my first question is, if you're copying and pasting and you have someone who's able to read that data, is this usually a website that has these capabilities? Or is this an extension that you downloaded to your browser? That's my first question. And my second question is, would turning off internet access while you're copying and pasting and doing different things on your computer, stop these actors from being able to see what you're doing? Or is it one of those things where it's just completely reading what you're doing constantly, and it can pull data even when you're not on the internet? So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, like I'll answer that
Go
really
ahead,
quick.
Kyle.
So like if I were a scammer developing a malicious Chrome extension, I would watch your clipboard, store it in Chrome local storage, and then whenever you got internet connection back, I would upload it to my scam server. So like having internet off at the moment you copy is probably not gonna help unless they're lazy developers and don't feel like storing it locally for a second. And the other thing is like honestly, I hate to say that your computer, like honestly, if your seed phrase is on your computer or if it's ever on your clipboard, you're not being as safe as you could be. Especially if you're not a Ledger user, it doesn't quite click yet, but it's like if you use a Ledger or any hardware wallet, your seed phrase has never been on your computer. There's no reason to copy paste it. There's no reason for it to be on your, in any sort of like computer format at all. And I just like, I wouldn't trust any amount of money to a seed phrase that has been on a computer, whether or not I've been like copying and pasting it securely or not. I don't know if that quite answers your question, but it feels like we're trying to find a way to feel secure while still being unsecure. And I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, there obviously it's reducing the odds is the game here, not completely blocking things. Right. I don't know, Cap Center, did that answer your question?
What's
Do you have
helpful?
any
I was
follow-up?
just wondering also about the different actors in terms of the example of copying and pasting. So they said like an extension browser. Is this also happening through websites where if you visit a website, they can potentially put cookies or other things on your computer to give access to your information? I was just thinking about the entryways.
Yeah, I don't know if websites have ability to watch your clipboard. By the way, I think almost all of us have a hard stop in 6 minutes, so we'll make sure we
Sure.
wrap up in time. But yeah, I don't think websites have clipboard access, but I just like, I don't know, I don't trust the computer at all. But there was a nice story in July 2020 that we all found out that TikTok was looking at the iOS clipboard to learn more about people. And so like if an arbitrary iPhone application could watch the iOS clipboard, that means any application on the iPhone could do the same.
Right.
I don't know if
Wow,
they
that's
fixed
really
that
helpful.
problem, but
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for answering those questions, Kyle. So let me quickly switch gear. One is, a lot of people are observing the Web3 space, and that one area I feel like is growing is the Web3 security space. Any tips on for people who are thinking about a career in security in the space, and or also for people that are not only software engineers, they're creative folks, and how do you explore that, and any tips there?
Mo, do you want to start? I have
Go ahead,
a
Ned.
personal reason. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Let me do my thing. Okay, so I would say that I've been watching Discord. There's a lot of Discords with these like classifieds channels and places where people can post their jobs. And what I've found is that a lot of people are interested in crypto, but the opportunities to jump in, like to get through to the other side, often involve like, I need a Solidity developer, or I need a person that knows how to do generative NFT art. And it's like the skill cap in order to like jump over that wall and get to the other side is pretty steep. So like one thing I could tell you to do is learn Solidity, do an NFT drop. But like honestly, I've been dragging my feet on doing that for months now. I've been meaning to do an NFT deployment just to learn it. And I don't know if it's like realistic for a lot of people to understand that. But there's a lot of enthusiasm and interest, and like there's a whole new world of community development skill sets needed. I personally have one of those very few intro jobs to Web3, which is like, if you're an outgoing person and empathetic and maybe a little technically minded and could help a customer through the challenges of Web3, like I need you. I need people to work at Ledger that understand crypto to help me manage customer support. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link after the chat in the somewhere, wherever you'd like me to put it for those jobs. But I'm hiring like crazy.
I actually second that. Like, you don't need to be a tech guru. I actually come from the creative industry, like Ariel. So my thing was storytelling, and we need more people that, to Kyle's point, have empathy and are human connectors and are people that can educate. I'm also hiring, so we're looking for a social media manager and an educational content manager. So if you're interested in, helping other people learn about the space and thinking of new and creative way that resonate with culture and that can, be vectors of education and in general, tutorials or things that can help security in general in this space, and you have ideas and creative ideas, please reach out, because we're hiring in the media team. Kyle is hiring in the customer success team. But if you check out Ledger's website, actually, I'm going to share a link right after. But we have hundreds of open positions, so don't hesitate. We want you. We need your help.
Yeah, and I would echo that, right? Like the beauty of Web3 is it's the people who haven't found a solution in Web2 trying to solve problems. So if you have an idea or something is frustrating you, chances are it's frustrating someone else too. And come and put your ideas to work. So like Mo said, within our team, we're hiring, but like we're also hiring a managing editor, we're hiring a head of education, we're hiring like for like curriculum work specifically, we're hiring many different roles across the board and in the engineering side. And you don't have to have a certain degree, you just have to have curiosity. So please, if you're thinking about being in this space, come and build it with us. And it's awesome also to see, brands like Time and Timepiece really do this as well. So I think that the last thing I'll say about working in the space is it's not competitive. Like we all have to work together to make something thrive. So please know that you could reach out to us and maybe we don't have the right job, but maybe someone else in Web3 does, and we want to see you succeed there too.
Amazing. Thank you. With that, we're going to have to close out. So I feel like there's so many other things to explore. Maybe we need another session with you all. Thank you so much for our amazing panelists here, Ariel, Mo, Kyle. Mo, thank you for bringing this concept even to us. This was super invigorating talk, and we learned a lot from this. Also want to thank our mods for making sure that they keep us safe here, and our amazing community. So thank you. So the next talk will be in January. Unfortunately, there's no POAP for this talk. Sorry, Patricio. We'll have a POAP for the next one. Please let us know what other topics you would like for us to cover, and we'll host that topic, and any speakers you want us to bring on board as well. Dr. Walt, I see you. Thank you for supporting us. And I'm wishing everyone a very happy holiday and a happy new year. Thank you for being part of the Timepieces community. For our friends at Ledger, thank you. Any parting words before we close out?
Thanks, everybody.
No, just thank you. And thank you for hosting this and for being so proactive, and Mo always helping us steer forward. It's great.
Thanks a lot. Like, it was a great chat, and I'll be looking forward to our next tech talk. We can dive more into all of these different topics and hopefully, make sure that the people out there are safe.
Thank you all. Have a safe and happy holidays.
Thank you. See
Bye
you.
now.
Bye-bye.
Okay.